Everybody. My name is Shannon Parks, and I am your Cigna on-site nutrition health coach with Pinellas County. I'm so excited to be here. Today, we're doing our first cooking demo since Cigna has come on board with Pinellas County, and I could not be happier to be here. So today, we are going to be making one of my favorite dishes, an asparagus leek quiche. If you're thinking, gosh, how'd she come up with that dish? I want to point you to the focus of today's session, which is eating with the seasons. A lot of people go to the grocery store, we buy fruits and vegetables, and we don't really think about where these foods are coming from or if they're in season, right? That was me for a long time. But what we don't realize is that fresh produce is really only best when it's fresh. And what do I mean by that? So living in Florida, we know we have a bounty of amazing produce options grown right here in our state, and we're so lucky for that. But we also know that not all food is in season all the time, right? And so thinking about one of my favorite Florida produce staples, strawberries, if you've ever had a strawberry in the state of Florida in February, you know they can't get any better. They're ripe, they're juicy, they're beautifully red, they're perfect. Now go to the grocery store in late fall and look for strawberries. Sure, you'll find some, but you'll notice they're not as sweet, they're not as red, and they're not as ripe. Why is that? Grocery store has them all the time, so that must mean they're grown somewhere all the time, right? Well, that is true, but they're not grown here. A lot of our produce is imported from other parts of the world where it is in season when it's out of season here. That means that that fruit or vegetable has to travel all those miles, maybe by boat, plane, train, truck, bus, and sit there in a warehouse, to sit in the back of the grocery store, to finally make its way to the produce department where you purchase it, take it home. It probably sits in your fridge for a couple of days, and eventually it makes its way to your or your family's plates. That's why fresh doesn't always mean best. But when we're talking about foods that are in season, like asparagus and leeks, we can always count on them being fresh in April and May and at their nutritional peak. So today I wanted to go through a quick cooking demonstration to make a really easy family-friendly meal that comes together in less than 15 minutes. It's so easy and it's super flavorful. If you're not familiar with leeks, we're going to be highlighting them today, but this is what they look like. They usually come in a 2-pack at the grocery store. You can find them in the produce department. Leeks are in the same family as onions, shallots, and garlic. So they impart that same kind of aromatic flavor that onions and garlic and shallots do. And interestingly about leeks is you only want to eat the white or the light green part. So the dark green part is not the edible part. You'll notice we'll be cutting that off today. That can be discarded. Or if you're like me, you like to make stocks and sauces and such from scratch at home, cut this off, stick it in your freezer. The next time you use a vegetable stock or make a vegetable stock, stick it in there and it'll pack a nice flavorful punch. So with that being said, we're going to get started. Let's talk about all of the ingredients that you see here in front of me so that you know what to get. The first thing I went ahead and grabbed is a frozen pie crust. I am all about semi-homemade convenience. I don't have time to make a pie crust, roll it out, and put it in a pan. Thankfully, this company makes whole grain frozen pie crust. If you're here in Clearwater, I picked them up at Nature's Food Patch, but you can find them around at other natural grocery stores throughout the county as well. So a nice 9-inch frozen pie crust. The next thing that we have is Gruyere cheese. This is a harder cheese. It's got a very mild flavor. You can find it in the deli department of the grocery store. Really, really good cheese. I love the flavor it gives to this dish. I've also got 1 cup of whole milk here. I've got full fat plain Greek yogurt. I use full fat plain Greek yogurt because it imparts a creamy texture to the quiche that's really enjoyable. If you're on a heart healthy diet, you could always go low fat or non-fat with your Greek yogurt. We've got 3 eggs that we'll be using to put into our quiche, butter, salt, and pepper. And then we've also got our leek and a half of a bunch of asparagus. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. I've already pre-washed all of our produce, but we're going to go ahead and get started. One of my kind of handy hacks with asparagus is they always say to cut off the fibrous end. A lot of people don't know that all you have to do is snap it and it will break at its most fibrous part. And then we can throw this away or tuck it into the freezer with the green leek tops and make a really good stock later. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're just going to snap all these asparagus ends off. And when we're done snapping the asparagus ends off, we're going to go ahead and cut these into 1-inch pieces to go into our quiche. Now, if I was using a stove top, I might start to take my pan and warm my pan here. Let me just toss this. I might start to take and warm some butter in my pan. So just take a medium saute pan, toss some butter in here over medium-high heat. Let that butter start to bubble up real nice. After we've got that in there, we go ahead and chop down our asparagus. We're just going to put all that right in there, and then we're going to get a hold of our leek here. So like I was saying, we're not going to eat this green part. We'll just go ahead and cut that right off. We're going to cut off the root end right here as well. We can discard or save these for later for stock. And now we've got the edible part of the leek. Go ahead and cut this down lengthwise, like so. And then we're just going to make really thin slices here. And we'll cut all of that up. And then we're going to add this to the pan with the asparagus. So over medium heat, we've got this going with some butter. And you would want to just soften this. So you'll cook it about 6 to 8 minutes until the asparagus starts to soften. If you've had asparagus before, you know it can be a little bit tough when it's raw. So just make sure it gets nice and softened first. When that's done, go ahead and pull that off the heat, set it to the side. Next, we're going to take a medium mixing bowl. We're going to crack in 3 eggs. And I just use standard large eggs here. To that, we're going to add 1 cup of whole milk. And if you're non-dairy, you could use plain almond milk, oat milk, or soy milk. Definitely not vanilla flavored though, just plain. And then we're also going to add 1/2 of a container of Greek yogurt to this. A little bit of salt and pepper to taste. And again, if you're on a heart healthy diet, then you would want to do a plant alternative milk and limit the salt or don't add salt to this dish. Go ahead and whip these together just until they're nice and smooth. You don't have to do anything crazy. Nice. And then at home, I went ahead and used my food processor to shred up a cup of Gruyere cheese. So you could do this with a hand shredder, but I tossed it right into the food processor, got it all shredded up in just a second. And that's what we've got here is the Gruyere cheese, all shredded up 1 cup. So what we're going to do is take our pie crust, preheat the oven at 350 degrees. We're going to add 1/2 of our cheese mixture into the bottom of the pie crust. To that, we will add our asparagus and leek mixture right over top. We're going to finish off the top of this with the rest of our cheese. I love this cheese, you guys. It's so good. I have a little kid in my house and he loves this too. So hopefully your kids will love this as well. And then over top of that, we're just going to pour our egg mixture. Now you want to just kind of be mindful here because we've got a lot going on in this pie shell, and we don't want to overfill it. Go ahead and gently pour that egg mixture over, just like so. And get that all pressed down into there. That looks really good. Okay, and then what I like to do is I like to stick the pie pan onto a cookie sheet or a cast iron pan, which I have here. And then I would pop this right into the oven for 35 to 45 minutes. You want to make sure that the center is set. It lightly jiggles. We don't want it totally firm all the way through, but you don't want it liquidy in the middle either. Take it out, set it on top of your stove or your oven there, and let it chill for about 15 minutes. When it looks like this, little TV magic, when it looks like this, that's how you'll know it's done. Okay, and then we're going to cut into this. I actually baked this here recently, but we're going to cut right into this and get a little slice out of here and see just how good that looks. If you guys could smell it, it's unreal. It takes all I have to not eat it. Okay, look at this. What's under here? Let's get a little plate to serve this up on. The anticipation's killing me. Okay, here we go. Look at that, you guys. Wow, that looks so good. We're just gonna do a little camera zoom. See that? All the cheese down there, all these good veggies, a nice golden crust. Gosh, that looks so good. This is an amazing meal by itself. At home, I might serve this on the side with some sliced tomatoes or some dressed greens for a little green salad on the side. If I was going to have it for breakfast, I might toss a handful of berries on the side, but just by itself is just as good too. Enjoy and let me know what you think.